it's always interesting to, in fact, talk about bioenergy, not only from the social perspective, but also the way India is moving further. I mean, the topic here is bioenergy, a must for the emerging Indian market. The word must has a lot to say, but before let's talk about bioenergy. So when you talk about bioenergy, normally we talk about solid liquid gas. So we talk about the biomass, we talk about even Rankine cycle, just incineration of biomass, or even the pyrolysis. We talk about biodiesel, bioethanol. We even talk about biogas, and further on nowadays we are talking about biomethane. It's a very interesting phenomena, and I tell you why. I mean, if you see, this is the only way you can talk from nature to nature, in nature to nature manner with this philosophy, because nature doesn't create any waste. Think about any phenomena. I mean, all the time we say that just copy the nature. Even though you have to do the water purification, see how beautifully nature is purifying the water. You have got the UV treatment, then you have got the condensation. You can even talk about the ozonization before that, and then as soon as it goes through the aquifer, mineralization happens. Nature does not have anything like waste. So when you talk about the bioenergy, this has got that element. You don't have anything like waste. Even though you take an example of, let's say, biodiesel, let's say from used cooking oil, what you get along with the biodiesel is the glycerin. When you talk about biogas, along with the biogas, what you get is the organic fertilizer. And right now after Corona, I think everyone is feeling as if he or she should have this organic food, right? Am I right or not? Yeah? Given a choice, you would like to have the organic food. And we live in a very funny world, in fact. I mean, in many big cities, the children think that the food comes out of the card box, which is a strange thing. It sounds strange, right? For everyone who has been grown in the village, who knows the intricacies, the effort behind it. It's not just about that fruit which is coming at the end. It is also about the emotion, the effort, the energy, whatsoever goes into that. Fortunately, government is talking about organic farming. We all are realizing about the organic farming, because ultimately it is really impacting your health. So that one dimension, when you talk about biogas to be particular, is also taken care. So let's come to the energy part, and I think this is where the session will really have the interesting discussion, because energy is something which can make us a developed country. In fact, still we are talking about this third world country and first world country, and I don't think that we even talk about the second world country as such, right? So again, we live in a very funny world, but that's how it is. We need to be very clear and very pragmatic as well, what can be done, what cannot be done. So I would request the gentleman present over here to really be very concrete as well, because I think we are the only one who are sitting between them and the lunch. So we would like to be very concrete. The idea is that when you go out of this room today, at least you have a feel about the whole thing. Is, when you read something, you gain the knowledge. When you experience something, you gain the feel. Fortunately, here everyone is professional in this field. They know the subject. They have burned their hands. They know what can be done and what cannot be done, which is very important. So that's why we just kept this session in a very discussion mode. Please feel free to ask the question, because this will help you to help us and other way around as well. And what we'll try to do, we'll try to cover the whole value chain as far as the bioenergy is concerned, so that you can take a journey right from the supply of the waste or the raw material till the utilization part. And normally we put everything in the three different buckets. One is the technical bucket, which normally all of us talk about. Second is the financial bucket, which is very interesting to model out, because many times we talk about subsidy from the government. Government can help you in many manners. Subsidy is one of the things for sure, if the project is not viable on its own, but they can give a push. In management, there is a term called push-pull. You need a push and the market should pull it in this sector as well. So let's say push can come in the form of tax holidays, push can come in the form of availability of enforcement of availability of raw material from the treatment perspective. There are many innovative ways you can in fact give a push. That's what the whole world is doing, and sometimes it's very much customized and very much localized. With these words, I would like to open the floor so we can have a very short introduction round, a minute or something, and then we start with the first dot of the value chain. So let's say availability of raw material, the bottleneck, etc., and we'll take the journey further. Yeah. So I'll start with Mr. Ahuja. Please introduce yourself, and yeah, then we just take the journey.
Thanks, Gaurav. So I'm Lieutenant Colonel Monish Ahuja. I'm the Chairman Managing Director of PRESPL, Punjab Renewable Energy Systems Private Limited. We are a company which works in the biomass bioenergy spectrum, and starting from the farm agri residue, which the farmers burn in the field for lack of economic value, we are able to aggregate it, store it, and take it to value chain of various forms of energy. And when I particularly say energy, it is, like Gaurav mentioned, right from doing electricity to thermal cooling solutions, densification for replacement of fossil fuel for industrial use, the biofuel market, that is the gaseous biofuels, so you are able to replace CNG, LPG, take it to liquid biofuels where you are able to do bioethanol, biodiesel, sustainable aviation fuel. You are able to now do biochemicals because you replace the petrochemical stream, and hence the carbon molecule which the plant in its growth phase is capturing or sequestering from the atmosphere above the ground, you can take it to all forms of value chain energy. So we are a pan-India company. We operate out of about 16, 17 states today, and this model from India today is getting exported to other geographical areas. We are next month starting with projects in Africa, and Southeast Asia is next on the card. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. In fact, if you really realize the whole stories of carbon and hydrogen only, how do you really put these two molecules together? So again, in bioenergy, that's what we'll be talking mostly. Dr. Rao.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Gaurav, and good afternoon to everybody. My name is Dr. 𝗕𝗫𝗶𝗶. I am Chief Scientist in CSIR at Hyderabad. I work in the area of bioenergy. So basically we develop technologies and we license to the various entrepreneurs for commercialization. So in that bargain we have developed technology called anaerobic gas lift reactor, and we have licensed to 2-3 entrepreneurs, Mr. Ahuja, Knives and car energy optimizers. And I think bioenergy is like an emerging area. In fact, actually in India, this biogas technology is as old as almost 4 decades. 4 decades. But because of this 2014 𝗪𝗺 𝗵𝗵 and subsequently we have got a program called SATAT, Sustainable Transportation Program, SATAT program launched by Honorable Prime Minister of India. So it has taken a separate push onwards. So accordingly now a lot of plans are coming up actually. So then I think maybe subsequent questions I can give some details and all these things. So as we go along, I'll keep discussing. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Don't worry, I'm jumping from one speaker to another one, keeping value chain in mind, and yeah, that's the whole intention. Mr. Kasulla, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Gaurav. And I'm Srinivas Kasulla. I represent Arka Brenstech Private Limited. So we are into installation and designing of biogas plants, whether it is small, medium or large scale. And our journey started from consulting large scale projects where we have installed various different sizes of biogas plants, right from 150 tons and it went up to 600 tons per day based on different feedstock. So you name the feedstock, we have already touched it, whether it is press mud, spent wash, food waste, cow manure, chicken litter or anything. So presently we are doing some research and development on enzymes and cultures, which we'll be talking in the session further. Thank you.
Well, one of the things I would like to emphasize is in India, people are confused between process and technology, you need to be very clear about it. Process can be anything, just let's say you have a biogas, pass it through, I don't know, lime water, and then you can upgrade it. That CO2 will be simply reacted, and then you have a methane. This is just a process. When you engineer it from end to end, then you talk about the technology. So I would like to be very clear from this perspective. Fortunately, we have people who are experienced. So when we are talking about technology, we are talking about end-to-end thing, not just the process. Mr. Reddy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you, Gaurav. This is Sunil Reddy, Managing Director, 𝗕𝗵𝗇 Energy Private Limited, and we are working on various energies and in general, and particularly we are working with biomass related energies. So we are startup in energy area, and we are taking support from association and as well as our partners, and we are working on some feedstocks, and yes, we are looking forward in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. What I really liked while I was discussing with you is that you are trying to see the whole picture. Even I think you are talking about the pyrolysis and how you can replace resin. So that's always interesting to really widen our horizon. And again, there is something called research stage. You're searching again and again. That's why the name research is there. And there is something called commercial thing. So here mainly we are emphasizing something which is commercialized either or can be commercialized. So that's also one of the aim of this session, to talk in a very pragmatic manner so that projects can really come out in a very professional manner, which can also generate enough revenue. Mr. Lanka?
Hello. Okay. First of all, thanks for the opportunity. Okay. I'm 𝗕𝗫𝗀𝗶𝗶𝗵𝗆. I'm Managing Director of ARMATEC India. ARMATEC is into manufacturing of equipment for the biogas industry. We are into, it's a 55 years old German company, and we have started in India in 2019 here. Mainly we are into we make agitators, pumps, and separating equipment and dosing systems for the biogas plants.
Thank you. I just have a request from all the speakers that let's hold the mic closer to mouth because I think otherwise there is some issue with the sound. So let's start our journey with the feedstock. One of the issue in the past people have really experienced is the pricing mechanism. So normally, let's say when people started generating electricity from the rice husk, at that time they were perhaps getting even for free. Then 50 paise. Right now it's even crossing 4.5 rupees per kg, which doesn't make the whole model viable. So it's very important to have a very robust as well as transparent pricing mechanism of the feedstock. Availability to us is another thing. So maybe I can request Lieutenant Colonel 𝗨𝗪𝗆 to talk about it, and also to emphasize how exactly this is being done in other part of the world, so that we can gain some experience from that as well.
Sure. So biomass has multiple types of feedstock which can be utilized, and this goes right from the farm agri residue to the industrial biomass which is available, the sewage sector where biomass is available, municipal solid waste where biomass is available, and the forestry residues where biomass is available. So it's not one price, one solution which will fit for a project. However, type of biomass that you use for a project would be the basis for the pricing of the product. Now, if you look at the India market, in the last 15 years, the Indian market was towards utilizing industrial agri residue for electricity generation. And Andhra was one of the states which had the maximum biomass IPPs, independent power plant capacity, set up. And these were all based on rice husk, were based on bagasse as cogeneration plants. But the moment the price value of calorific value of that bagasse and rice husk started rising up to compete with fossil fuel, why would somebody incinerate it or burn it in a boiler when you could get more than that price by selling it in the market? And hence, without exception, all these projects became non-performing assets. If you look at now where we are with the biomass IPP story, barring one company in Punjab, Haryana, nobody else does it in India. And no bank comes to finance such projects today. And the reason being, you produce electricity, technology is mature, but at a cost which is much higher than the solar, hydro, wind that you can do. So what is it that we can utilize the potential of biomass? And the quantification number here, and it's very startling, the government number is between 500 to 750 million metric tons. And when people talk about numbers, if you go from 500 to 750, there's a 50% difference. So it's a joke when you come out with a number like this. And the recent study done by PricewaterhouseCoopers and Oxford Project Management talks about a number of 1500 million metric ton of agri residue which is available only. And then when you put this data up to government, people baffle because there is no answer about the authenticity of data. So how do policymakers, regulators, people who plan for the next 15, 20, 30 years use the data to set up industry? A difficult question mark. So I think data authenticity is very critical. The second part is, if we want to look at industrialization in the bioenergy segment, we will have to be conscious of energy price to compete with. We can be slightly higher than the fossil fuel price for being clean, for being green, but you're not going to get premium on energy prices to move away from fossil fuel. So it's important that we understand the value chain of energy price, and then if government needs to support it by tax ops, subsidy, etc., can be looked at, but that's not the model of sustainability of business. No governments within India or globally are going to allow subsidy mechanisms to continue for whatever time. So it can be for the start, but the business will have to be sustainable on its own. And that brings me to the point about the financing for such projects. Today we have the Satat scheme, which is Ministry of Petroleum to use biomass. We have the Samat scheme, which is 10% co-firing of biomass across all coal usage electricity generation in India. We have the MNRE schemes for gasification, biomass IPP co-generation. We have the new MNRE scheme for green hydrogen. And we have banking support for preferential cost structure for these projects. However, in the last 4 to 5 years, the kind of potential that we should have realized as a country, we have not. And the reason being, we haven't put a mechanism in place to price product. Government is given a price in the Satat scheme. Government is giving a price in the Samat scheme. But at those price points, and people like me do question government going there, how do you price it? What is the basis that you have priced it? There's no answer. The same analogy when you look at, let's say, a European market, a US market, or other markets, there is a structure of a transparency of a price build-up. The cost of feedstock, the cost of financing, the cost of technology, cost of projects to be done, and a decent, reasonable 14 to 16% IRR return on the capital which is deployed. And if this as a thumb rule is followed, I think people sitting here and all over would do the biomass bioenergy business. So we miss that. And hence we miss our targets in this space particularly. But I think it's fast changing. What's changing is, today the fossil fuel price increase which has happened in the last 1 year has brought the alternate use to the forefront. And that's where companies like ours, we are seeing the huge jump in terms of projects that we do, the demand from the market that we see, both public sector and private sector. On the pricing point, which was a specific question, I think we need to be transparent in our tender systems, regulatory framework systems. So there is only one mechanism on a biomass pricing today in India, and that is the electricity regulator. And this electricity regulator in the last 7 to 8 years has priced biomass, which is agri residue, between 4 rupees to 4.50 rupees per kg. Whereas all these schemes that we talk about and millions of tons of demand which government has put in place is based on a price assumption of about 2 rupees, and hence it's not happening. So these are questions we need to answer as we going ahead. And where are we as a company? So I'll give you an example. What have we done? We have looked at the low-hanging fruit. And the low-hanging fruit is replacement of fossil fuel within industry, boilers, hot air generators, cement sector, steel sector, the high demand energy industries, and we have replaced their fossil fuel with biomass, either in loose form or densifying it into briquettes and pellets so that we can supply it to them, and thereby commercially being viable. And once we are commercially viable, everybody wants the green, EHSG, sustainable take, and these projects happen. So we are in a segment which is low hanging and surviving as business, and this is our 11th year in business, so yes, we have survived. But we are at the cusp of the boom of business because the biofuel industry has taken off. The ethanol mixing mandate of 20% has taken off. The Samarth co-firing mandate of coal has taken off. The compressed biogas projects are taking off the ground, and both being done by private sector and the oil marketing companies, and hence the demand is there. So what we see today is hundreds of press pills which are coming into the Indian market. Yes, we are market leaders because we started off early and we survived. So happy to pause here, and if it has to be interactive whenever the questions are there. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, for sure, a goal without a plan is just a wish. We can just have the wish, but we need to put the plan in place, and the plan has to be very much pragmatic. It has to be as per the local scenario, especially when you talk about the availability of biogas. India is a different country. Always we say that it's a relationship driven country. So you need to create some very good bond even with the feedstock supplier, and let it be a win-win situation. Otherwise always the market is a little dicey. If you see the international scenario right now, of course, because of this Russia and Ukraine war, people have again started talking about the different possibility where they can utilize or just get or generate something like biogas or some renewable energy. That's why bio CNG or CBG is also called as renewable natural gas when you go to USA. This brings me to the next point, because waste can be managed centrally, or you can even think about the decentralized waste management system. The question is always open, and I think the solution is also open. We need to really look into it. But I think, Dr. Rao, you're working in this field, especially from the technology perspective. Maybe you can share your idea, especially when it comes to decentralized versus centralized thing. And otherwise, from the technology perspective, what is happening, what can be done, and what cannot be done. So that will be quite insightful.
Yeah. I think from the technology perspective, what we can say is that, see, for example, Akshapatra Foundation has around 30 kitchens across India, and each of the kitchens they generate around 1 to 1.5 tons of food waste. So why we in 10 kitchens we installed plants, biogas plants. These are 1 ton, 1.5 ton small plants actually. We are generating biogas, and biogas is given to the same kitchen in the same premises. So waste is available there, biogas is also utilized in the same. This is one of the ideal case what I am talking. So in that scenario, decentralized waste management is very, very good. We need not transport the waste all the way. Waste can be utilized at the source. We need not buy the waste, and gas we can replace completely LPG. So but for example, we have got around 1 lakh poultry farms in India, where each approximately generating 10 to 20 tons of poultry waste. So I suggest decentralized waste management, and treatment there, so that the poultry waste can be utilized for generation of biogas. Biogas can be utilized in the same form for brooding and other purposes. So very thermal applications are required there. Thermal energy is required in the same form. But in some cases it may not be possible actually. So that is the one. So case to case we have to look at it actually. But from the technology perspective, it is the success is more for decentralized waste management. The plant failures are very, very less. Why? Because see, for example, this SATAT program, there are 4,500 LOS all oil companies got. But in practicality we have got only 25 to 30 plants only. And among this also, I can definitely say that 50% plants are not working. One is selection of technology is very, very poor, that is I can say that. And higher quantities handling becoming very, very difficult. So just because SATAT program is there, people are installing, but they are not looking at the technology. And another perspective is that biogas complete chain, generation to purification and bottling. And that purification step is approximately capital cost is around 40 to 50%. And we have to look at very robust technology of in-situ biogas purification. We have to make the technology little cheaper. Then only these projects will be viable. So yes, Mr. Ahuja told actually biomass availability at the sites, there is a costing for that. We cannot simply say that waste is available freely. We should make some costing for that. So the centralized versus decentralized, these are the questions each project has to look at very, very perspectively. Then only will do. One example I can tell, we are operating a 10-ton biogas plant in one of the vegetable market in Hyderabad actually. Hyderabad generates 5,000 tons of Arka municipal solid waste. But to get 10 tons now, it is becoming very difficult for us because segregation is a big problem in India. So from that perspective, the technology success is very, very good in decentralized waste management, but under SATAT program we have to operate bigger plants. So technology needs to be very carefully studied, understood and implemented. I request all the entrepreneurs to very study in depth. You take time for technology selection, I think, then only success will come. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very important and insightful. Always it is advisable that for any project we need to keep the problem statement very, very clear, and accordingly we look for the technology selection. So if it's decentralized, many times you are forced to in fact do that. If you see all this high-rise building and the society over there, in many cities it has already been enforced that they have to do this in-situ treatment, which is a good step in fact, because that can also sort out a lot of other issues associated with it. But one of the problem which we normally hear from project promoter side is that when they go to the technology provider, someone gives them the cost of, let's say, 100 rupees, someone is talking about 500 rupees. So there is a lot of chaos in the market. I mean, with Ministry of New and Renewable Energy and a lot of other stakeholder, we are trying to come out with a biogas standard. Very soon it will be in public domain. But just wanted to grab your brain, Mr. Kasulla, how to really look for this kind of information asymmetry in the market, and how to really tackle such kind of situation, especially when a person knows that they want to go for with this technology, or if they have to do the technology selection.
See, very rightly said, Gaurav, but when we are talking about cost optimization or cost reduction, this is the most common factor or common request from every inquiry that, before even understanding the cost of the project, they come to us saying that, we want to reduce the cost. So I try to explain that instead of reducing the cost, why don't you look at the revenue part? Enhance or increase the revenue rather than reducing the cost of the project. And again, when it comes to reducing the cost of the project, there are three factors which need to be considered: whether the cost is to be reduced at the project level, or the industry level, or the government level. So these are the three levels we need to understand how they incorporate with each other. Yes, when we are talking about the project level, size optimization or perfect sizing like technology selection, equipment sizing, process optimization, these are the factors which every entrepreneur needs to look at, or unless they look at these factors, nothing can be done. Because most of the cases where I discussed with various entrepreneurs or the owners, it was found that there is a huge difference between the plant cost and the project cost, and this is where most of the companies are confused. Even the consultants are confusing the entrepreneurs who are entering into the field. So first and the foremost requirement is come down or chalk down your bill of material, bill of quantities. Unless the bill of quantities is in place, nothing can be done. Once the bill of quantities is in place, yes, the next level would be the industry level or industrial level discussions, where how we can reduce the cost is collectively bargaining or equipment standardization, like Mr. Ahuja was also mentioning, and involvement of industry experts. Like I also don't understand one point when it comes to involving the industry experts or association like Indian Biogas Association with the project, people back out, and that is where most of the projects are facing problems. You need to understand that experts or the industry experts have some knowledge and they've spent some time and energy in the field. So many things are there which goes unseen or unnoticed by even the entrepreneurs as well as the technology suppliers. But this is where the links are combined and linked, and the projects can be understood. So unless there is an industry expert support or the association support for any project, these projects will find it difficult to move, and that is where the cost is also different. Sorry. Yeah, that is where the difference in the cost, as you rightly said, when it comes to 5-ton CBG project, there was a huge difference of cost between 15 crores to 75 crores. This is what people have come to us, and we explained the same thing, that don't look at the cost of the project, but try to look at the bill of material or bill of quantities, as well as the list of exclusions in the project. So when you're talking about a project, it has to be end to end without any exclusion. Okay, so whatever the project needs, it needs. So it's only because of by getting the project hook or crook, many entrepreneurs or technology suppliers are reducing the list of equipments, and that is how they are reducing the cost. But I always suggest that look at the bill of material, bill of quantities, standardize, and then you can take the quotation so that you can compare apple to apple.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to really push the sector is to bring transparency as much as possible. And there is a term called cost of ownership. Very few people talk about it, because ultimately you need to deal with the cost of ownership. How much are you really going to pay for a particular project? So that's very, very important. You can model it out in a very different manner, but one of the way to really push it to bring the transparency, as Mr. Kasulla was talking about. But maybe Mr. Reddy, I will come to you now, because you have got the in-house consumption of the gas, you have got the in-house consumption of the fertilizer as well. I think that's also one of your motivation to enter in this field. But I'm sure that you must have realized the different risk and how to de-risk. Can you just share your thought on it?
Yeah, Gaurav. Yeah, our main idea is we have a consumption of gas, as well as like I already told you, we have a EV division. So we are working on methanol fuel cell. So we are finding out the technologies which can convert our methane into methanol. So still we are working, we are not confident yet, but we are searching for that, and the portability of biogas is also one challenge what we are learning in that. So we are searching out the LNG related technologies and other aspects, how to improve the portability in biogas. Even our industry is also far away from the production area, so that's what we are working on that. So if possible, if everything comes out good, and then we'll go definitely looking forward for that.
Because demand side has to be in place, because many times the supply side we focus too much on it, but I think demand side needs to be frozen at first. But this then brings me to the question, we can talk about technology, we can talk about the concept, the whole business model, but ultimately the project needs to have the right equipment with the right quality in the right manner. Because you can put anything, but it has to run well as well. in biogas specifically, there is a saying that putting a biogas plant is one thing, running a biogas plant is a totally different thing. Sometimes it's an art than a science. But coming to you, Mr. Lanka, India is a cost-sensitive market. I know that you're dealing internationally as well. How do you really see to make a mark, to really make sure that the industry is going in the right direction and people are not regretting at the end of the day as far as the project is concerned, so that they have the right equipment? But it's very difficult to convince. Again, India is a cost-sensitive market. Can you share your views on it?
When I started selling my machinery, German equipment in India, okay, 3 years ago, okay, the people's 3 years ago, it was very difficult. Okay, right now I am getting the inquiries, and now people are ready to invest in good machinery. I mean, even they are also thinking, like, even IBA is educating the industry, and like very good consultants like Srinivas, Kasulla, and people are there. And also see, the biogas project is altogether different from any other projects. Okay, if something goes wrong in a biogas plant, we will come to know after 15 days. So the right equipment, right machinery is very much important. And also, see, India is price sensitive market. Even we are really trying hard to compete with a local machinery, and some people can sell only for the 20% of the cost what we are quoting. Okay, and even though these days people are investing like to run the plant, they need to have a quality machinery. And also the companies, the European companies also now they are starting in India. Okay, and we have established in India, and right now we are selling in Indian rupees to reduce the cost, and we are starting our assembling also. We are setting up. I mean, many other companies also doing the same thing to reduce the cost. Okay. If we get some import duty benefit or something like that, even a little bit push also need from the government side.
Okay, makes sense in fact, because we hope that you'll have enough demand to start assembling at least in India and further on manufacturing, because that should be the aim ultimately. We need to have that setup over here in India. But beside this, in fact, let's talk about some of the case study, because that will perhaps give some more insight as far as the whole concept is concerned. Maybe 𝗕𝗁, I will come back to you. That can you just share, especially when you talk about the feedstock, we have clean and unclean feedstock. MSW, for example, I mean, whatever we talk, it's an unclean feedstock. Agro residue, do you consider this as a clean or unclean? And beside this, can you share your journey, because you already have a lot of experience, how to really make sure that I have enough feedstock available to scale up the plant as well, be it biogas plant or even the gasification plant or whatever it is. Your insightful thinking will be really helpful in fact.
Sure, thank you. So we are operating many successfully running projects of various scale and size, and these are not test projects, but these are commercially operating projects, ranging from utilizing 50 to 60 tons of biomass per day, presently going up to 200 to 250 tons of biomass per day. And what we work in is specifically agricultural residue biomass. And we as a company are contracted in global tenders by oil marketing companies, public and private, by large ethanol plants which are coming up, by large cogen and biomass IPPs, because now the co-firing is the mandate, where the utilization index is going up to between 500 to 1000 tons per day. So if you need to scale up, the baby steps of 10 tons per day, 20 tons per day, going to 50 tons per day, and thereafter increasing it, is something which you need to actually do on the ground. And the proof of the pudding is the replicability of these numbers which we have done across India, pan-India. only on 3rd of June, my company has been the recipient of the best RE company in the 10th edition of the 𝗕𝗃𝗀 Awards. And why is it so? Why is it that wherever we represent or go, we get awarded? There are key elements which we have kind of put to solve the puzzle. One of them is key human resource. To get people who are focused in the workspace that you're going to look at, and it's a difficult workspace. If you look at any other industry in the RE segment, it's much more easier to set up a project because you buy and you establish it and it will generate something for you. In this case, you have to be 24/7 with the project to be doing it again and again. And hence, I am from the defense background, so we kind of use that analogy to fix the problem. In India, the defense forces retire young. Our men who are there, who fight for us, the fighting people, retire between 38, 39 and 45 years of age. Because we want a younger army to be able to fight, a younger Navy and Air Force to be able to fight. So this is skill set which is trained in various aspects, including technology, which goes back into rural India but does not have a job profile available. So we use this to be able to bring them, train them, and get them to have ownership on assets which we build in rural India. So I think this is one thing which has worked well for us. So what's our asset profiling? We build collection centers, depots for collecting biomass. And how do you collect it? We invest in post-harvest farming equipment, depending on the type of biomass. Tractors, cutters, reapers, balers, trolley systems, etc., etc. So we bring mechanization in post-harvest farming activities. So the farmer traditionally stops the work that a farmer does because they monetize the grain or the fruit. Post that, whatever is left, because there is no use of it, or it is a waste, or it doesn't have a demand, the farmers burn it. And that's where we create that demand now to bring it out from the fields. And once we have this in warehousing, one of the key elements here is the finance aspect. You need to pay. You need to pay for everyday labor, everyday transportation to the people who do this work. So we coined something which is called as a village level entrepreneur. So in rural India, we create entrepreneurship model for them to work for themselves. They don't work for a principal. They work for themselves. But to work, we provide them this equipment free of cost. And then they go into the fields, they remove the biomass because it is their fields, their own, their neighbors, their relatives, their village, their taluka. And when they come back to us at the end of the day and transfer ownership of this biomass, we pay them through the banking channel. So financial inclusion. Imagine coming and leaving something which is a waste and next day getting a SMS that you have got paid. So now you want to do more the following day because you are going to get paid more, and this cycle picks up. So your revenue stream on entrepreneurship has started. And today we have, a ballpark number close to about 9 to 10,000 VLEs associated with us across India. Thumb rule basis, a VLE makes close to about 2,000 rupees per ton on deliverance. Different types of biomass. So just imagine somebody delivering 1,000 tons of biomass in 30 to 45 days makes 2 lakh rupees a farmer. And if you look at the average Indian farmer and 2 crops all going well makes between 60 to 80,000 rupees per year. So it's a no-brainer that the farmer is going to shift towards utilizing the farm agri residue. Now how do you monetize it? So since it's low density material, either you take the industry closer to the material, and typically that's not the case unless new greenfield projects are coming. So the new Satat scheme projects need to go closer to the biomass. The new densification plants for briquettes and pellets need to go closer to the biomass. But if that's not the case, and the industry is far away, and you have to move this biomass beyond 40-50 kilometers, you need to densify it into briquettes and pellets. And hence, we today are the largest densification company in India. Today we do close to about 750 tons per day. Our portfolio is expanding to 1500 tons per day. So in the next 12 to 16 months, we would be at 1500 tons per day. And hence now we densify this biomass and as a commodity sell it to industry. And every significant corporate is a client for us. You name the pharma sector company, you name the brewery, tannery, rubber, tire, chemical, the wineries, etc., is a client where we are able to take energy from the rural part and deliver it to industry. And you know, Prime Minister Modi said from Red Fort, Annadata se Urja Data. The Annadata se Urja Data will become the solar wave what the previous session talked about, but limited. From this waste of 1500 million metric tons, if we utilize the potential, we will reduce 22% of oil import of India. That's the number. Now, when we go forward and when you go and sell it to an industry, the industry it's not their core business. Buying this briquette or pellet from tens and hundreds of individuals, LLPs, you know, it's difficult for large corporates. For a Pepsi to do it is difficult. For a Kingfisher to do it is difficult. For a Sun Pharma to do it, it's difficult. So they want corporatization. They want somebody where they can put penalties. And that's where a Prespel stepped in to say, if we don't perform, we'll pay you penalty. And we aggregated the market. Localized, states, India, and today besides what we produce, more than that we aggregate from the market and provide a platform in a transparent manner to somebody who is not able to access the market. So there is an individual Natha Singh in Punjab who is doing something but is not able to access a PepsiCo. So he is a channel partner now where a Prespel provides that platform to that Natha Singh, and similarly across India. So more than what we ourselves produce, we source from the market and provide the platform. And when we go to the industry says this energy, this boiler is not my core function. What do? And we told the industry, forget it. You need energy like a ESCO model of solar, we will give you energy on tap. We will bring the biomass. Within your plant, we will put technical manpower, we will train them, we will operate your boiler, and we will give you energy and pay me once you utilize the energy. And today we are the largest industrial steam energy supplier in India. We do more than 650,000 metric tons per annum currently. In the next 12 months, we would be closer to 1.5 million metric tons of thermal steam energy, which we sell and monetize on per kg basis from 100% biomass. And once we did this successfully, industry said, why should I own the boiler? I don't need it. Why don't you invest in the boiler? And today within industries, we own boilers. So a Glenmark, Sun Pharma, L'Oreal, Pepsi, etc., within their large complexes, Prespel owns the boiler systems to deliver energy to them. And that's the model wherein we started off 10 years back as a biomass supply chain management company. And today in the entire value chain, we deliver energy. But for us, the business is wherever our client wants to monetize. So somebody who is setting up a CBG plant has a problem of biomass, we are very good to supply biomass and walk away. Somebody who says, give me the briquettes and we will operate our boilers on our own, we sell briquettes to them. And somebody says, take my entire headache away, give me energy, we give energy to them. The proof of the pudding is, we operate more than 16, 17 boilers today. Each boiler operates to 100% capacity utilization factor. We are committed on financial guarantees at 95% of asset availability, and across India we are above 97.5% on every contract 24/7, and this is the 6th year in business. So biomass is available. Who says biomass is not available? People want to sit within their factories and want biomass to come to them. It is never going to come. you have to go out, you have to set up the process, you have to set up the ecosystem. And in this journey of ours, one problem which we have been able to fix, which I believe will happen more and more because, seeing is believing, is the finance. Today we don't actually have to go for finance. Finance comes to us. So we have, as equity shareholders in Prespal, responsibility, State Bank of India, Government of UK through FCDO, Shell, the oil and gas major, and Mitsui & Co, the Japanese. So what have we done? We have corporatized waste. We have created a company which is 100% compliant on EHSG. We replace fossil fuel. We deliver energy 30 to 50% cheaper than fossil fuel. And once we do that, our partners ensure that the finance comes to us. Today we have capital not coming from India, but we have capital coming from US government, US DFC, UK government, hopefully very soon the Japanese government in terms of the DFIs, and hence the Indian market is attracting capital from foreign institutions. What we have still missed is the Indian capital.
Wrap it up. So that, no, please go ahead, wrap it up.
No, so the change which is still required is the Indian capital to come to this market, which is yet not coming. And I think organizations like Gaurav's, ours, industry bodies, we are working with government to say, allow Indian capital to come into this space. And that is where the boom of this industry will happen. Thanks.
Thank you. I mean, this reminds me of our President Dr. Shukla's statement that we will think that this waste management field has really taken a shape when the waste owner goes to a police station to file a case that my waste has gone stolen. And I think I'll just put it in Hindi as well कि कचरा प्रबंधन क्षेत्र में मैं अपने को सफल तब मानूंगा जब कचरे का मालिक जो है पुलिस में जाके ये रिपोर्ट लिखाएगा कि मेरा कचरा चोरी हो गया. I think that's what Colonel Ahuja was trying to say, that we need to bring value to the waste, and that to end. It's not that we are just talking about it. And this is a good message for all the emerging entrepreneurs over here as well, that think about it. You can structure it out. The only thing is that the problem statement should be very explicit so that you can look for a proper solution statement. We have around 8-9 minutes left, maybe in a time bound manner. This brings me to some case study. I think Mr. Lanka, you have got a waste, it's not a waste, it's the energy crop thing. Normally whatsoever brings the food versus fuel debate, of course we have to go with the food, not with the fuel. So we can't talk about energy crop in general, but when you talk about some energy crop like Napier grass, then it sounds quite lucrative as well. You have a vast experience, you told me, outside India. Can you share just very briefly about your experience on the large scale biogas plant based on Napier grass?
Yeah. ARMATEC installed a Napier grass plant for biotech farms in Philippines. Okay, the plant first they installed a plant for a 3 megawatt project, and now that was expanded to 10 megawatt now. So they are processing about 800 tons of Napier grass per day, and also they are using 30 tons of pineapple pulp and pig manure. Okay, this project was right now they are planning to expand up to 16 megawatt in by next year. Okay, this is the world's biggest Napier grass plant and mostly awarded, and even the plant is performing up to 85% of the 85% of the design capacity, and it was the most awarded plant, and we are very happy. See, when they have started only with the Napier grass, and there was a pineapple processing company which they want to supply the waste skin and crown of the pineapple. Okay, and they are supplying that, and because of this pineapple pulp there was so much of food acid in this, and then these people have done some research, and now they are adding this pig manure also to that, and including all these things, it was the output of the plant was excellent, and they are very happy.
Yeah, I think that's a message for India as well. When you talk about such kind of plant, you need to have a multi-feed, digester, so that if you don't get one feedstock, then you have the second one as well. Of course, you need the main substrate, and then you can talk about co-substrate. Maybe I can come to you, Dr. Rao. We don't have much time because we need to take the questions as well. Because one of the very important commitment which India has, given to the world is that by 2070 they want to be carbon neutral, and we don't believe that without bio this is really going to be possible, especially when you do the life cycle analysis. So what's your view on it? What's the role of bioenergy, particularly biogas, when you talk about the greenhouse gas emission, and also you know about the government scheme very well. So if you can just put some words, that will be really good.
Yeah. See, just in the recent report, the GHG emissions, there are approximately, I think, 60 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent, and 40 gigatons is just because of the fuels, conventional fuels. So that means, if the fuel consumption can be switched from non-renewable to renewable, I think we can greatly reduce this GHG gases emission to the atmosphere. Simple for an example, one car runs on CBG can save 2,600 kilowatt hours of GHGs per annum than running on a CNG, simple conventional CNG. And for example, if we can reduce all the landfills across the world, I think it is estimated that around 5 to 6% of CO2 emissions can be reduced. So that is the level the figures are going. And if you are replacing conventional fuel with this biogas, then whatever to that extent anthropogenic CO2 emissions can be reduced. So it is a great cyclic actions actually. So that's why really that now we should take off across the globe, not only in India. In fact, actually I should appreciate Europe has done very well. In 2020 they have made 20% renewables. They achieved it actually. Like that, India also has to put forward something like that. And now India is doing very well in for example solar and other aspects, wind. And I think I am also very glad to see that India is also proposing very good programs in the bioenergy, such as Satat. And people like Mr. Ahuja has brought in actually a lot of value chain addition, bringing the feed material to the way the plant requires actually, such actions. So I think in the broad range, climatic changes and GHG emissions reductions and all, this bioenergy plays a very critical role, and we have to continue to do it, increase the proportion of renewable energy in the conventional energy. That is my say.
Thanks a lot. I mean, just to give some feel to the audience, if I just see the data, whatsoever is available of the global warming, so let's say if you talk from 1880 onwards, in every decade, the temperature rise was around 0.08 degrees centigrade. Only in the last 40 years, we are just seeing a rise of almost 0.18 degrees centigrade. And in fact, 2020 was one of the hottest year. So this is not something just to avoid, just from the academic side. We all are experiencing. One of the report which really gave me a lot of goosebumps was that climate change has a direct impact on the poverty. It is directly related. The deeper you think, the sad news you'll see that these guys, they will not be able to afford the right energy, so-called, just because there is no enough money available. And it will happen in such a manner that poor, who can afford, they will not need it. The person who needs it, they cannot afford it. So that's a kind of dilemma we are living in. So we need to be very sure whatsoever we are doing, it is really creating some impact, not just to talk about, but just to see as well. Maybe with this I can take a few of the questions from the audience. We still have some minutes left, and I think I can take a liberty of extending by 5 minutes or something. Please feel free to ask the question. It's your time. We have a lot of experienced people on the dais. Any question from the audience side? You can just raise your hand and mic will come. Or otherwise we will start asking questions. Okay, so maybe we can take this discussion further in a very different manner. Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I just wanted to ask a quick question on hydrogen economy. We are a hydrogen-based startup working on clean energy production and green hydrogen energy production through renewables. So my question is, when big companies are announcing billion-dollar projects, how can a startup in hydrogen field or hydrogen economy can pull it off, even though we have a right product, or even if we have a government project in hand, still, overcoming that announcement of $6.5 billion by ACME, and Greenco announcing big budgets, Adani announcing, and Reliance announcing big budgets on hydrogen economy. How can a startup with a bright future can come up with a solution or can survive, is my question.
Okay, it's a little off the track, but I would like to answer this. Personally, I teach in IIM Ahmedabad as well, and this is my subject, managing energy business. See, let's understand the rationale behind this hydrogen thing. Okay, I know the whole world is going gaga about it, but believe me, we are still far behind. Basically what is happening, or what India thought, we missed the bus when it came to solar. So basically it's import which we are doing, and a little assembly here and there we are doing. When it comes to EV, again the same story. So government thinks that we should not miss the bus as far as the hydrogen is concerned, for the right reason, understandable. The issue is, if you really think, I will come to the startup point, but let me just let the whole audience know about the situation. The issue is, if you talk about green hydrogen, still we are far behind. I just give you some figures so that you understand. If you talk about electrolyzer company in India, perhaps we have one, a couple of more perhaps now coming up, I don't know, and that too is the US one. Right now the electrolyzer price, depending on dollar situation, is around $750 per kilowatt. I repeat, $750 per kilowatt. It has to be brought down to till $250 per kilowatt. Then only the green so-called hydrogen economy will make sense. Green hydrogen economy. Although India is already giving very cheap electricity, almost in dollar terms, if we want to compare, I think it will come to around $37 per megawatt hour or something like this. But still, when you have to compare with other sources of hydrogen, then you need to bring this down till $20 per megawatt. $20 per megawatt hour. So now coming to the startup story, let's make the problem statement very clear. I personally see a lot of research, a lot of input that has to go into. We need to make the problem statement very explicit as far as the startup is concerned. What is a startup? Basically, a startup solves a problem and you work in that direction, and while doing that you earn the money, right? You make the money, but it's more about the problem statement. Right now in the hydrogen field, you need to be very clear about your participation as far as the startup is concerned. You can say I am the electrolyzer company and I am bringing down the electrolyzer price. You can just talk about anything, I don't know, membrane thing, anything. So I would rather say, if you are the startup in this field, you need to have a very long horizon right now, yeah, and you need to make a balance between green. I mean, there are many shades of hydrogen. I don't want to deviate from the bioenergy, but biohydrogen is also one of the things which is very exciting. But you talk about green, you talk about blue, you talk about turquoise, you talk about what not, in fact. But I think the problem statement should be clear. You'll need a lot of support from the different funding which is available. Fortunately, a lot of international funding is available for R&D, research and development. And I think even when you talk about Adani and Reliance, they are going in a big time, they are saying, but still they are facing such a big problem that I don't think that before 2030 they can really make any substantial mark even on the ground. There is a very good report from the Bloomberg, and then I will end the answer, that it will take at least 25-26 more years to really come to that stage if all the parameters are really moving in a right manner. So that's just to answer your question, but that was a little off the track, but I hope you got the feel about the situation at least. Yeah? Or anyone wants to add anything? Huh? Okay, thank you.
We're also not confident on it.
So, just to give you the analogy of what Gaurav alluded, the Shells and Mitsubishis of the world came to us. We didn't have to go to them. Hence, if you are able to identify and get a grasp on a problem statement in the value chain. So I'll give you an example where you said, what about transportation of hydrogen? Nobody has it globally. So if that's the problem statement that you can solve, then people will come to you. So I think don't work on the entire value chain, but identify what you can in the next 3-5 years be in a position, and I think that will give you the space.
You have a question? Yeah, just tell the question. Maybe I can repeat if mic is not working.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. See, my name is Ram. I have two questions. Like, I see a lot of people are, interested in establishing biogas plants of small scale, like 5 ton, 10 ton megawatt, 10 ton per day plants. But there is a lot of, gap that is being observed with a lot of small entrepreneurs who wants to establish. That is like, they don't have a complete understanding of the plants. I think that would be helpful, to cut short those, like, a lot of communication gaps and creates an easy path for smaller entrepreneurs.
Okay, let me just talk, and then perhaps Dr. Rao can also add to it. Number one, from association side, proper solution, they will be promoted. So we are very clear from that side. So what we can normally do and what we are doing, we create the matrix, we create the yardstick, we create the framework, and then based on that, people can take it further. As far as the technicalities are concerned, I think I talked about the fact that association is working with Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, with NIBE right now, to formulate the biogas standard. In fact, I would say that we have already done the first draft. It has been submitted to BIS, Bureau of Indian Standard, and this will be in public domain very soon. And it will talk about most of the parameters, operational as well as the equipment parameters. So normally you break down the whole thing in 5 different things. One is the civil part, one is the mechanical part, second one is the mechanical, third is electrical electronics, then comes the piping, and of course the microbiological parameter. And under this vertical, then you further deep dive, and then you can judge. So we are trying to give people enough wisdom to do that. Secondly, from last 1 year, we are working on one very exhaustive project with World Bank. The result will be out very soon in public domain, and in that we are also trying to make sure that you have a proper sample, let's say raw material agreement. You can just take it out, it's like a superset. And not only that, even from the technology perspective, you'll have enough wisdom to play with the different parameters, and then you can think about it, what may or what may not work. We already have a biogas app. You can simulate almost 200 different substrate. So this all to push the sector again on a very neutral basis. If you ask from association perspective, I will give it to Dr. Rao perhaps from technology perspective, because at the beginning I talked about the fact that there is a lot of difference between process and technology. People talk about the process, and that's something I've seen in a lot of the startup. They talk about the process, but this has to be converted into technology, where you know each nut and bolt, you know your system so well that you are able to give the solution. And again, before giving the solution, the problem statement has to be very clear. That is just to give you a feel what we are doing and how we are doing. Dr. Rao, would you like to add something from technology perspective for upcoming entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think so many people, like you are asking question, coming to us asking, and they will come with case. For example, I want to set up, this is the waste, this is a plant. So we frankly tell them whether it is profitable or not, very clearly, because we are neutral agency, we are Government of India agency. So in fact, actually some people are discouraged also, because it is waste energy, certain scales, certain waste, it is not very highly profitable. People want to make it very high profits and all this. But some cases, for example, morning only I am telling, one entrepreneur went to one consultant in Pune, in a place called 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗃, and he has set up the plant with almost capital cost of 6 crores. And where to sell the gas? From Kadapa, Maidukuru, where he will sell the gas? And from where he will get the waste? He has no idea. He was misguided. But if 10 people are coming to me with the projects, actually 7 people are coming with projects which are not at all viable actually. We are clearly telling them, don't venture into, you will be wasting your money like that. But some people are coming with good ideas, we are encouraging them immediately, we are telling them to yes, it is very good project. So we can guide you can take my coordinates if you want like that. But that is a very good question you have done actually, you have asked actually. It is the eye-opener for all the entrepreneurs. While selecting projects, thorough analysis has to be done, whether it is viable or not. Somebody has got profits and I will do it like that, that we should not go by that. We should go by your own case. Where the waste is available, how do I get it, what is the cost of it, where I will sell the gas, what is the revenue I will get it, what is the capital cost of the plant actually, and what is the interest on it actually, what is my, Mr. Ahuja spoke about IRR and all these things, so many things, issues you have to decide as an entrepreneur, just you should not jump in. So you asked a very good question. If anybody like you in the audience or somewhere, they can come to us, we will help them very neutrally. And I think most of the panelists also consultant like Srinivas or anybody will help you, like Indian Biogas Association, so many people are there to help you. Very good question you asked. Thank you.
I think I would like to answer your question.
Very concretely, then we have to in fact allow them to go for lunch as well. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Ram, to answer your question, as I explained during my session that you need to have qualitative, quantitative analysis done, which is pre-feasibility, feasibility, and don't just look at the numbers which are mentioned in the Excel, because those are boosted figures, and the pre-feasibility or the feasibility shown by most of the consultants are fake numbers. So just you need to have the on-ground figures based on your own project and the BOQ. Unless the BOQ is in place, nothing can be done, because that's where the project or the cost can be excluded or included or can be changed to any extent.
Okay, then I will just end with one line which I already said. A goal without a plan is just a wish. Plan it out properly, technically, socially and financially, and that will answer all your questions. I think time to hand it over to Amit. He is listening patiently as well. Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone. Thanks a lot. Thank you.